Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente with StarSelf.com. Week number 4 of our classes, beginning classes. This is a regular show called Astrology Unplugged. We've been at it over 3 years, and I'm just taking this time during these several weeks to take about 10 weeks to teach a beginning course. Very beginning, basic. This is week 4. We did 1 and 2 on the signs. Week 3 and 4 are on the planets. These can all be found on my YouTube channel by searching Rick DiClemente beginning class, okay? And there will be about 10, maybe 12, who knows when I'm done. So we're ready to go. Tonight's subjects are the other planets that we did not get to. We did the 5 personal planets. We did the 2 medium planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Now the outer 3 planets, which are really a big deal. They take up most of my life. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So between Saturn and Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, almost all of my clients are dealing with one of those, sometimes other things. So we're going to get to that. We may be even reviewing Jupiter and Saturn. I had a question come in from a client. I want to get to that. I want to remind you, and I've told you this before, this class is free, but I really don't mind donations. And I really need them to pay for this channel and for other things for sure. And if you would like to donate, that would be really appreciated on my website, starself.com, starself.com. On the far right is a button for donations for whatever you feel. Thank you very much. In the class, we are utilizing the exquisite zodiac for the signs of the zodiac because the book was written exactly in sync with what I'm teaching. So it's really, really important that you get this book and read it at least twice. This is not a book where you just go read about your sign. No, read the whole book about how all the signs are related. Really important as a basis for this course. Now, the question I got from somebody, they didn't really understand when I said Mercury can only be in 3 places. Well, it's very simple. As, of course, in the reality, Galileo proved that the Earth goes around the sun, but in astrology, which is older than Galileo, the Earth is in the middle and the sun goes around. And as the sun goes around, if you look past the sun, you see this constellation of Aries, you see the constellation of Taurus. As we spin around the sun, it looks like the sun is going through the zodiac. All through the zodiac means is those 88 constellations out there, 12 of them are right on the plane of the ecliptic, which is this Earth's path. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc., all the way around us. So when we're in the month of June, and you shoot an arrow through the sun, you're going to see this constellation of Gemini back there. Okay? Now, since Mercury is closer to the sun than we are, when we see the sun in the sign of Gemini for 30 days, Mercury cannot get very far to the side. It can't get very far, left or right. It can't get behind us because it's closer. So that's why Mercury is always in the same sign as where the sun is or next door. Always. Okay? That's why. We're looking through, we reach through the sun and we grab the sign of Gemini, and to the left and right is Taurus and Cancer. So all Geminis have their Mercury in 3 places. Likewise with Venus, only Venus is bigger because Venus is further out from the sun, but it's still closer to the sun than we are. Venus can only be 5 places. So if your sun is in Sagittarius and we're looking at Venus, we can see Venus's entire trip. It never gets behind us. So as we get in the Sagittarius, Venus can only be next to in Capricorn or Aquarius or in Scorpio or Libra. It can only be in 5 places. So all sun signs, your Venus is in the same sign as your sun sign or one of 2 next door. Does that make any sense? Okay, good. Very good. I looked and looked and I just could not find a proper graphic to show that to you. But when you start to see the zodiac from up above, putting the Earth in the middle, you'll see what I mean. Mercury always hugs the sun. In all charts, Mercury is always close to where the sun is. And Venus is only a little bit away. The other planets, they can be anywhere. Okay, now, I want to get back to, I wanted to show you. I'm going to go back to the 5. I told you about the 5 personal planets. Now, some of you have had a hard time downloading this. The reason why is when you right click on it, you may not be in the proper program, so you need to download it to a file and then open the file and print it. But better yet is you all need to start drawing these things out by hand. You really need to draw them out by hand. That's how you really learn. I'm trying to get this to move. There we go. Okay. Okay, good. Drawing it out by hand helps it get into your brain when you draw it. We're not so concerned about these columns yet, but we're going to take up all this in this class. This is where the planet is, and this is what the planet rules. And it won't hurt you to draw this and learn to draw the symbols. Okay? Now, when I told you about the personal planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, as you go outward, the planets become more powerful. They become less personal. They move. It's not the speed of the planet. It's the speed at which the planet goes through the zodiac. So when we talk about the planet's speed, one's slower, one's faster, we don't mean actual speed. We mean how fast is it going through a sign. Eris has been in Aries since 1920. Eris is going to spend 120 years in the sign of Aries. The moon spends 28 hours. So we call one slow moving, we call one fast moving, but it's just because they're way far away and they got much more distance to catch up. All right. The 5 personal planets, as you get out to Jupiter and Saturn, which are intermediary, the 5 personal planets have a lot to do with what your personality's like. And I just grabbed 2 charts just for the heck of it. I called them 1 and 2. They're people I know, and I'm not going to give the names. One's a very good example of somebody who's got 5 personal planets well placed. Let me show you number 1. It's a woman I know, a wonderful woman I know. She's got beautiful energy, and you'll notice here when I show you a chart that I call 1, I took off the other planets. I'm showing you a different wheel. I don't usually use this wheel. I'm showing you this wheel so you can see the signs of the zodiac. These are houses. We'll get to these next week. Don't pay attention to these houses yet. You're not ready for that. I want you to pay attention to the planet is in the sign. Each sign's 30 degrees. The planet enters here, takes 30 degrees to come out here. Mars goes through it in a couple weeks. Sun goes in it in 30 days. Pluto goes through it in about 25 years. So that's looking at those constellations far, far, far away. These planets look close and the signs look far. The signs are extremely far away. As a matter of fact, the signs aren't even there. They're just a bunch of stars that somebody decided looked like a swan in the lion, etc. So here's an example of a person, and she's got much more complexity once you put Neptune and Pluto and Uranus on her chart. But if you just look at her sun is in Gemini, and when you got a Gemini woman, you want something to give her emotions because Geminis don't do well with emotion. And right away we see the moon is in Taurus. The moon is in the most stable place it can be. It is exalted in Taurus. This is the strongest place for the moon. And this is really good. She's a lawyer, And it really helps this flighty mind settle down with a moon in Taurus. Stability, able to work with everyday energies instead of bouncing around. Then you look and you see the Mercury, which is the mind. The Mercury is really powerful because it's the ruler of Gemini. All Geminis are ruled by Mercury. And we find here Mercury is in Gemini, even though it's retrograde. The Mercury is in Gemini, which is a wonderful place for Mercury to be, because Mercury rules Gemini, and Mercury is the three different air signs. Mercury is the type of air sign, which is let's gather information. Let's gather information and let's give it out. The Libra air sign is how is the current society thinking? Socially savvy. The Aquarius is the third air sign, is the high dimension of air, which is factual and research and Thomas Edison. Brilliant geniuses. So we see so far her sun is okay placed. The moon is excellently placed. Mercury is perfectly placed. We look at Venus. Venus is very nice in Cancer. You want your Venus to bring water. You want to bring water to an air sign because they lack it. Water is love and feeling. She got a moon in Taurus. She got Venus in Cancer. I mean, she's very motherly. This woman has like 7 kids. Everybody's just, the kids are just beautifully behaved, wonderful kids, wonderful mother. And you can just see, when you see this whole chart, which you'll be ready for in week 12 or so, you'll see why this woman is just so naturally got beautiful energy. And then Mars is over in Taurus. Mars isn't the best in Taurus, but at least Mars in Taurus is, I say you're going to do something, I'm going to keep working till I get it done. Gives me stamina, it gives me keep working on these taxes till I get them right. Now, this isn't the best possible blend, but this is a pretty good blend. Now, I'll tell you right away, it's going to get a lot more complex because in her birth chart, her moon is opposite Neptune. Neptune is right here when she was born. These are what's called the aspects. We're going to get into that later. And that Neptune being opposite that moon changes that moon dramatically. It's no longer a real earthy moon. It's now being affected by Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces, and it makes it very watery. So this woman is very emotional. She's very stable. She's able to get things done. She can deal with a lot because she's a Gemini. So it's really a pretty good set of personal planets for a person. The next person, I just wanted to show you an idea. He's not condemned. He's a friend of mine, but he's got a little bit rougher road to hoe. His chart is called number 2 here. All right. He is a Taurus. He's got the moon way over there in Sag. The Mercury, see how Mercury always stays close to the sun? See, Mercury stays close to the sun. Venus always stays close to the sun too. Venus can only be in these 5 signs. Mercury can only be in these 3. See? Because it's closer to the sun than us. That's why. Now, this guy, when you got a Taurus, you got to ask yourself, okay, this guy's very stable. He's very predictable. I've been to a lot of meetings with him. He's very on time, making the thing go. But we got to get other things in his chart to get him out of his chair, to get him less stubborn, which is the problem with Tauruses. So what do we go to? We go to Moon. The Moon is in Sag. This is a very nice thing for him. The Moon in Sag is up and having fun and getting out and doing things. And Taurus wants to stay home and sit in the easy chair. But the Moon wants him to get out. So this can actually be pretty good for him. And the Moon in Sag, it can be very good for people, except for where it becomes frolicking and irresponsible. And that's not his case. He's got enough responsibility here with the Sun and Mercury, but the Moon really helps him get out and around. Where his difficulties come in is the other planets. The Mercury is in Taurus. You don't want Mercury to be in Taurus because Mercury in Taurus is a very strong, slow thinking mind that's going to take a long time to make up its mind, and you are not going to change their mind. So he's got quite a tendency to be stubborn mentally. He's already got it from his sun sign. See, you have to blend things. You got to blend all the planets and all the houses. Venus. The Venus is in Gemini. Okay, and that's not good because Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and his Venus is found in a fly-by-night sign of Gemini. And what that means is Venus in Gemini means, oh, he wants to do some of this, wants to do some of that, do this, do that. And the Taurus is very steady once they get the job done, but then his affections go here, and they go here, and they go here, and they go here, and he has to fight them, rule them back in because they're not in sync with his sun sign. It helps him because it teams up with that moon in Sag. It makes him a little loosey-goosey. When I met him, he's kind of loosey-goosey, but I did his chart. I knew at the heart of him was a real solid Taurus. But this guy has struggled with emotional things, and you can tell he struggles inside because part of him's kind of stable and part of him's not. Okay, and then the Mars is in Cancer. Okay, again, we see Mars in Cancer. And Mars is difficult in Cancer because the Martian energy wants to go get. And Cancer wants to be safe. Well, if I do this, what's going to happen to me? Why are you going to go get and be safe? Yes, Jack Lambert was a Cancer, but Jack Lambert was the tenacious side of Cancer. Take your head off. And the rest of the chart did it. Yes, James Cagney was a Cancer. But in general, those 5 signs, those personal planets, are not as well placed as the other person. So I do this all very quick when I look at a chart because I've done so many. I can just look around very quickly and get a feel for it. And I'm looking to the outer planets. I'm looking at everything. Okay, so now we're going to get back to this zodiac. I want to remind you of a couple of things. I want you to become married to this list. And I want you to draw it on a piece of paper with a ruler yourself because it's going to really help you. Now, we've done the 5 personal planets. We've seen how the sun is the basic self. The moon is the emotional nature. I want to make sure I got I got it recorded. Good. You never know. The Mercury is the mind and the intellect. The Venus and the Mars are your yin yang. The yin accepting, the yang going out and getting. So that's why they're very personal, these 5. The zodiac is really, really incredibly brilliant how it's set up. Okay? Then we talked some about Jupiter and Saturn. We're going to get back to that. How Jupiter, and you can do your symbols if you start copying these on paper. The Jupiter is that need to go out, reach out, and join others into a crowd. Hey, how you doing? Going to a fraternity party. That's Jupiter. Okay? Whether it's good or bad, I ain't judging it. Going out, reaching out, want to be friends with people. Remember, it's the 3rd sign in that quadrant of relationships. So it's not the personal relationships like Libra. It's not the real dramatic, intense relationship like Scorpio. It's the bigger, it's beyond personal relationships. Me plus your group, my group plus your group. When you see those people on the floor of the Democratic Republican convention holding those signs and they're cheering, that's really Sagittarian. That's really Jupiterian. And the word for Jupiterian from the old god is Jovian. It's called Jovian. Jovian is somebody who is very Sagittarian-like or very Jupiter-like. It comes from the god Jove. Okay, Saturn is the opposite. Jupiter wants to, jovial, very good. Jupiter wants to expand. Saturn needs to keep a lid on things so it doesn't get out of control. And a bad Saturn wants to limit just because it wants to limit. Okay? And it's not good. A good Saturn wants to limit but understands it. So these are social signs. They're beyond personal signs, but yet they're somewhat personal. And the Jupiter is how you go about joining your society. And Saturn tells you to go home. It's 2 in the morning. Saturn says if you stay till 5, it's probably going to be a problem. Okay? A little bit of wisdom. Saturn is the planet of wisdom. Now we get to the Mamma Mias, the big stuff. The Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. I'm going to take my time. This may take several weeks. We're talking about just these 3. Most of my business is these 4. And I told you there's Eris and there's Chiron, which I'm going to save for week 10 or 12, whatever it is. These are major, major forces. So if you have exerted yourself and you have emotions and you got a mind and you are entertaining people and gathering friends and you're able to go out into the world and get what you need and you expand yourself, but you keep it disciplined, you got a pretty self going on. But now we become impersonal. Now we start talking about being a member of the planet and a member of the universe. I wrote today on Facebook. How else do I put it? Things might blow up. Things are really bad. The USA patient is really, really sick on the operating table with 18 holes cut in it. It's got all kind of cancers. I'm not going to sugarfoot this. We may not make it. We may not. I'm not here to say that if the USA survives, it's the best thing. I'm pro-Earth. We may be the worst thing that ever happened to Earth. I'm pro-universe. So all I can say is we're going to try. It's getting scary. The water's rising, all this other horrible stuff, but we may not make it. And who knows what other intelligences are above us working with us. But I'm just saying, the outer 3 planets have to do with the collective. Like you couldn't talk about sex and abortion. Now you can talk about sex and abortion. The collective changed through the years, one mind at a time. You couldn't talk about gay rights. Now there's a guy that's almost in the White House with his husband. Over time, the collective changed. Not in Russia, not in Pakistan, but we have many collectives and bigger collectives. That's what the outer 3 planets do. And you got to get in your mind, what do these 3 planets want? What do? They all raise hell, and they all basically have really good meanings, and they all can be used right and they can be used wrong. Uranus is the only planet that rolls through space. It doesn't have an axis like this. It rolls through space. Its axis is like this, which is just so like Aquarius. It's the ruler of Aquarius. It takes 84 years to go around. 7, very consistent. 7 years per sign. 7 years per sign. It's pretty circular. Okay? Even though its orbit goes up and down at a great angle, it's pretty circular. It's not elongated like Pluto. What does Uranus want to do, being the ruler of Aquarius? It wants a revolution. When things get stale, it comes to break it up and make things new again. When you walk in a room and all your friends are around, and they're all doing this, and they're all drinking stale Pepsi with stale pizza, and they've done this for 16 days, that's when Uranus comes in and opens the windows and says, okay, let's break this stuff up here. And thank God this energy's out there. When it gets old and stale, you got to let Uranus in. And if you do not let Uranus in, you will have a stroke or a coronary. That's why. More people have trouble with Uranus. Now, the most troublesome planet, percentage-wise, is definitely Neptune. But more people have trouble with Uranus because they want things to be the same. They don't want it to change. And you see, these planets are inside you. These planets are huge forces connected to the collective that come up through you. When Uranus is on somebody, it's powerful, it's electric, it's Edison, it's Tesla. You've seen all these coils and all these symbols of electricity flying everywhere. The inner planets have no chance against the outer planets. Saturn tries to hold on. Let's keep things as it is. The outer planet's going to blast it apart. So its intention is just like going to a restaurant. They got this sign up, I'm sorry for our noise. Please bear with us for a couple of weeks while we remodel. Bang, 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 bang. Right? You come back in 3 weeks and the restaurant is brand new. It's beautiful. It's been renewed. That is an entity, a job, a company that did the right thing. They got in touch with the Uranus inside, and I would have seen it in the company's birth chart. When you feel that itch to renew, the Saturn has to give way. So Saturn's in that troublesome spot. Because on one side, Saturn's got Jupiter. On the other side, Saturn has Uranus. Jupiter just wants to go to the party no matter what. Uranus wants to knock the walls down and put it in a light show. And Saturn's trying to keep everybody's head together. So it's in a tough position. So Jupiter and Saturn have to get along in the chart. Saturn and Uranus have to get along in the chart. Uranus is felt like this when people talk to me. I don't know what's going on. I'm beside myself. I'm about up to here with this. Something's going on. I don't know what. I'm beside myself. I'm coming out of my skin. Now, when you go to sleep at night, your fingers are put into the wall socket whether you like it or not. You cannot control this energy. You cannot control outer planet energies. All you can do is work with them smarter, or try to stupidly repress them. And you're really in trouble. You go to bed and you're in the 110, you wake up the next morning because Uranus is the only planet that hits exactly. The day it hits you is when the event happens. The other planets aren't that way. You wake up, you're in the 440. Whoo! And that's exactly what happens. Somebody turned up the current. The universe turned up the current and it's pouring through you. Now, if you're smart and in touch with yourself, you'll get with it and get about the change of what you got to change. And the wrong use of Uranus is to say, she's the problem. She's not good enough in bed. She's not good enough in the kitchen. He's the problem. He doesn't work hard enough. He doesn't make money. It's the boss. You'll blame everybody outside of you for cramping your style. Because what Uranus wants is one thing. It wants you to be yourself. This is a big deal what I'm telling you. And I got an excellent video. Type in Rick DiClemente into YouTube. Cycles of Uranus. Cycles of Uranus. And I broke it down because you can automatically see that if it's got 7 years per sign, every 21 years is a major time of Uranus compared to where it started. First, age 21, leaving home. Age 42, midlife crisis. Age 63, another midlife crisis. I got a person I know yesterday, was sick, couldn't take it anymore, shot himself. Killed himself, age 63. Second, because the Uranus, when Uranus is not, when you're dealing with Uranus in a bad way, you're not allowing yourself to be yourself. You're not allowing things to happen. You're being very rigid, holding on to stuff. You've seen people like this. When Uranus is healthy, you got a stable life, but some change comes along. Hey, we got to do this. Tighten our belts. Let's go down the rapids, and it's good. And people report Uranus as exciting change. And Uranus always makes you live more liberated. Look at all your lives. You may have had trouble. Look at all your lives when you were 21 and 42. 21 and 42. 21, you got separate from the family, or from what the family thought you were. to get your own role. 42, that's what this video is all about. 42 is a midlife crisis, which really is, am I stopping myself? Is my boss stopping me? Both are possible. But too many men, especially, want to get on their Harley and go on Route 66 with the sunglasses. Give me some young chick out in Las Vegas. That's a wrong way to use Uranus. Uranus, it wants to be reborn, but Uranus asks the question, when these things become at certain times, other times while they're drifting through void zones, nothing's happening. But when they get to critical parts in your chart, Uranus asks, am I living myself? Am I being myself? Mr. Ted House in Pittsburgh, you got to bear with it. He's losing different names. Who taught us about Mr. Rogers? Fred Rogers. I said Ted. He's taught us what? He taught us about you are unique the way you are. I like you the way you are. That is Uranus. Even though he was a Pisces, he had a lot of Uranus in his chart. You have to deal with me. I just lose certain trains of thought now and then. I'm getting a little senioritis. So the right person says, honey, things aren't going too well. We're age 40 now. And we need to get to marriage counseling, find out why we're no longer friends. Uranus is about friendship, real friendship. And I don't care what you say, you're not going to have a marriage till you're friends. And instead of waiting until 42 and it blows up, note on the table, honey, I'm gone, I can't take it anymore. That's a guy who waited too long. At age 40 or 39, you say, look, the marriage is 39 or 40. Or the person's 39 or 40, either way. We need to get some counseling. We need to find out where we've gotten off track. We need to either become friends again or get out. That's very Uranian. Aquarians don't stick around just because I'm comfortable, just because I need a partner, because Aquarians don't need people. Okay? When the relating stops, the Aquarian's gone. Unless you got an aberration in the chart. So the proper way is Uranus comes through, you feel a need for change. Like at work, you might have things happen that are chaotic, but you usually end up with more elbow room, unless you've really been screwing up. Then you've been screwing up, then you get fired. Almost all people that have trouble with Uranus transits have trouble with their lower leg. We're going to do a session one night on the whole body and what planets rule there and what signs. But I've had trouble in my lower leg between my knee and my foot. That's the Uranus area, the calf muscles, the ankles, the circulation. When there's trouble with Uranus, you're going to have trouble in that part of the body. Just the way it works. Don't know why. When you're working with Uranus, you're getting in the rubber boat, you're doing the raft trip, and you're going down the Yakagani, and you're having a blast. Woohoo! It's all over, you come out of it, you're renewed. When Uranus is on you, you've been playing a certain instrument all your life, and all of a sudden, Uranus is on your chart hitting a sensitive point. You don't want to play that anymore. You want to try this, you want to try that, you want to beat on the drum, you want to try this. Ooh! I watch this happen with my child at Indianapolis. He's in school for strings. And he tried everything. And once the Uranus transit's over, then you are a new person because you're bigger and you try new things and your windows are bigger and your brain is bigger. Then Saturn comes back and starts to put the loose pieces together so we congeal a little bit. Then Uranus blows it up, then Saturn comes back. It's a continual dance like this. And we are programmed in this world to be so Saturnian. Keep it together. Lock it down. Put a lock on it. Put a cement floor in it. Get your 401k. Be so cautious. Blah, 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 blah. And we end up being rigidifying all the walls that just makes Uranus have to blow up more stuff. Because it's your Uranus. It's not out there. And your Uranus doesn't want it. Your Uranus wants to breathe free, and it will crack right through the walls. But its intention is so that you are no longer restricted with the old. It's trying to teach you, just like Fred Rogers is trying to teach you that you can handle it, Mark, because you're special. You are very unique, Mark. Just like everybody sitting here. Everybody's unique. That's what he said. He wasn't making up pretty stories. That's the voice of Uranus. That's what FDR was. Uranus ruling Aquarians, as we talked about Aquarius being so tolerant of others. It's also got another side that's just wild and nutso and goofy. Because if it's not in a healthy way of being expressed, it just anything goes. Anything. Put a tinfoil hat on, spin it around, woo, anything goes. And it's not, and you've met people like that too. And those are people with bad aspects to Uranus, too much Aquarius. So you got the idea. Saturn forms it and congeals it. It's got to be healthy enough to let it out, open, so Uranus can get through, and new things will happen. And it's always sudden, and it always happens exactly at one moment. It's sudden, and it changes your life forever. That's how Uranus works. We'll be showing you that in your own charts later on. You've had sudden events in your life where everything changes. That's Uranian. Okay, so when my poor dad, the Capricorn, had Uranus coming, he was early Capricorn, which is really bad. Because when you're early in a sign, as soon as the planet enters, you get hit like you're sitting by the door. Boom. When a planet enters, if your sun sign is 1 degree, 2 degrees, we knew it was coming, my ex-wife and I. We knew it was coming for years. I wrote about this in the book. Uranus came into Capricorn. He was 1 degree, 2 degrees. Seizures, stroke, all the other things happened. He just went downhill right away afterward. Why? Because he was so out of touch with his own Uranus. He was out of touch when his insides wanted to go on a rafting trip. His insides wanted to travel to Cincinnati. His insides wanted to go to the top of some mountain. You know, those requests from inside, those sparks, they seem wild and crazy, but if you don't go with them, you end up kind of dead. In exchange for playing it safe. Playing it safe, which is not safe. It's not. What's safe is letting Uranus do its thing. Saturn congeal it. Let Uranus do its thing. Saturn congeal it. Okay? So I can tell right away, usually when I look at a chart, and when the person's describing how their body's feeling, I can tell what energy is on them. It's only 4 I got to watch. Really? Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. You getting the idea about Uranus now? Finally, some people have had major Uranus transits and they just had to get divorced. They just couldn't be themselves in this marriage. I'm not going to judge the other person. And when they got out, there must have been chaos or whatever. But they can start breathing. They're breathing again. And things start coming to them because when you're codependent, you're not alive. That's the biggest thing there is in astrology. Codependency. And when you're codependent, everything depends on what they do. And what they do depends on what you do. So by definition, there's no self or little self. So Uranus comes to break that up. And almost always, I'll tell you, when you were 21, when you were 42, I don't know what you did, but it was sudden, and all of a sudden you had more breathing room. Or you died and had an aneurysm. Things crack. That's what Uranus does. You either crack open or you crack. That's how it works. Neptune. Oh my God. Neptune is so weird. Yeah, it's my favorite planet, but still. It's really, really hard to talk about. Neptune is farther out, 168 years around about 15 years per sign. Very quiet, beautiful blue. It's out there moving around very quietly, extremely powerful, but it's very quiet. It's the Jesus planet. It's the man on the cross with his arms spread out. It's the ruler of Pisces. Just like Pisces, it doesn't care what score you made. It doesn't care what money you made. It doesn't care how big your garage is. It doesn't care how many women you've had. It's about you and your connection to God and to the soul. That's all Neptune cares about. It's very beautiful. It works through quiet dissolution, dissolving. Things just, we were this way one day, then all of a sudden they're this way. How'd that happen? How did all these Mexicans get here? How'd that happen? That's been a big question the last 20 years. We knew it for years and years and years. We just ignored it. That's how you deal wrongly with Neptune. Neptune does not respect your worldly gains. Neptune only respects your spiritual gain. Your ability to open your heart, your ability to be passive, your ability to be loving, your ability to include. And it doesn't care about your other stuff. It just doesn't care. Now, remember, this is your Neptune. It's not out there. The planets are not out there. They're in here. Now, a typical Neptune person. I just don't want to do this job anymore. It just doesn't satisfy me, and I'm just not sure. And, you know, the kids are going off to school, and I'm not excited about sports I used to play. And the marriage just kind of got me down. And you just, this general kind of whining that goes on. Because what's happening is Neptune's calling you home. And Neptune is very powerful. And it ain't calling you to your house. It's calling you back to heaven. It's calling you back to God, where you left, but you really didn't leave. The only reason you seem like you've left is you build up all these ego. You build up all these ego stories. Oh, I'm Rick, and I live here, and I do this, and I do astrology, and on Thursday nights I do this, and I do this, and I got this car, and I got this kid. And we build up all these stories around us. None of it's real. None of it's real. The only thing that's real, ultimately, the only thing that's real is I'm just another voice of God, just like you are. That's what Neptune cares about. Now, when you look at Neptune going to across the very top of Einstein's chart, 1905, boom, 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 three major inventions. Theory of relativity. The magic years that he can never create again. Why? Because we are receptors. We're not creators. We are receptors. And the pure Neptune energy poured through him, and all of a sudden he understood the universe. That's why. Neptune is the George Harrison energy. It's very mellow and laid back. Beautiful. Not competitive, but very dangerous, because most people cannot handle it properly. Almost everybody has affairs. Almost all those affairs become public. If you got a politician that you know has Neptune on him, forget it. It's a true story. There was an affair. It's coming out in the public. As soon as the full moon hits it, it's coming out. So Neptune wants you to go home. The dissatisfaction of Neptune is not the home and the wife or the husband and the yard and the kids in the school. The dissatisfaction is you don't want to be in this anymore. You want to go home. Back to the oneness. So the people in India, to them, Neptune is the most beautiful planet because it helps them undress. It helps them shed the ego. It helps them do all the work that they do in their meditation, or whatever you want to call it, to get past the ego. And my personal belief in my position is you need an ego, and you also need to put it in its place. So what's happening to you, Jan? We talked on and on and on about this coming. You're dealing with it just right. You're shedding the old Jan. The new Jan's coming about. She's bigger and bigger. She's becoming Neptunized. You're keeping them both at play. So that's very good. Very good. So that's why Neptune can be confusing. Now, when any of these planets are on you exactly, you'll go nuts. When they're on exactly, you have a couple of days where you're like, Jesus, God, what's going on? Because that powerful collective force is pouring through your nervous system. And Neptune is real common for putting people in mental ward for a couple of days. People just lose it. They lose it because they're not used to dealing with it. Now, Neptune's been all over me the past couple of months, but I'm used to it. I've dealt with it for a long time. But when it hit me in 75, it hit my Mercury, my mind. And I remember, I wasn't even an astrologer then, but I look back on it. My mind unfolded to unboundedness. And I was in meditation. I knew that, and I was familiar with it. And all of a sudden, all these walls, which I didn't even know I had, they all fell down like a Hollywood set. And I was boundless. Well, see, if you're not used to that, it can be really shattering, and you could think you're nuts for a couple of days. And you might even have psychotic experiences. You really may. And then they have to put you together. Mostly what they do is just numb you till you get through it. These planets are a lot different after they pass you. When they're right on you, they're heavy duty. After they pass, you get a taste of it. You feel the new energy that has arisen. You've incorporated it. But you're more understanding of it. And then you can get on with your work. And what Neptune frequently does is people cash in their job and they want to go work for unwed mothers. They want to go work with violence victims. They want to go do something that's very Christian-like, Piscean-like, Christ-like. Because why? Not because they should, but because they are you. That's the problem with Christianity, in my viewpoint, in all religion. They're all telling you how you should do something. Then when it just sets up all the guilt because you didn't do it right. Instead of, you do it because you are them. You are one. We are brothers and sisters. We don't understand it. The quantum field is starting to explain it to us. But that's what Neptune is. Neptune's a big deal. And when Neptune is over, I got one client, been with me for a long time, and I told him, during your Neptune transit, 2-3 years, I don't want to deal with you. And I just told him, I'm sorry, I cannot guide you. You must take your guidance. He's very spiritually developed. You must take your guidance during these next 2 or 3 years from your own inside direction. And I let him go. And I said, we'll resume 2-3 years after Neptune passes. And during that time, he did great. He got a spiritual teacher. He started to make great strides spiritually. He did well on the physical plane. He's a CEO. So it shows you it doesn't destroy your CEO-ness. It only destroys your CEO-ness if that's all you think it is. Your Neptune will destroy your CEO-ness if you got yourself convinced that that's all there is and you have no faith in your spiritual side. If you have faith in your spiritual side, and you're trying to be a CEO and a spiritual person, it will help you do both. That's how the planets work. But all this trouble that we see in our lives all comes from inside because we're not listening. We're repressing. And the main reason we don't listen is we think that if we listen, who's going to put bread on the table? Or we don't listen because we watch mom and dad suppress everything. Good intentions. So that's what Neptune's about. It wants you to spiritualize your life. It's not going to support you if you go on a big ego trip. is going to expose you in an embarrassing way. It will. Now, we're not all powerful Jesus Christs. So Neptune is very tolerant. And God, if I may say so, God speaks of us as making mistakes, not really as sinners. And we learn from our mistakes. Okay, that's where Neptune is tolerant. And these big planets go over you very slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Back and forth, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's a whole period of time. Uranus with the revolution to change things, Saturn to calm it back down and structure it, Neptune to dissolve it. It's not uncommon for some guy to call me up and say, Rick, I lost my wife, I lost my house, I lost my kids, I lost my job. I know right away what it is. He's ignoring his spiritual side. And we talk, and I say, I don't want to hear about your business. What I want to hear about is in 2017, you had this great spiritual prompting from inside and you suppressed it. And you told it was nothing, just like your dad told you. That was the story. It was a spiritual crisis. Oh, yeah, that's what that was? Well, Americans aren't very good at discerning spiritual turning points because we're just now learning about spirit. In the East, they know about it. Bhagavad Gita. They got all this stuff written for thousands of years. Here comes my Aquarian cat. Da-da-da. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. He's going to give me a hard time. He wants me to move the books. Okay, go ahead. Go up in your little nest there. He's a cat. Ain't that the truth? Huh. He sure is. Let's do it. My wonderful Aquarian cat with a T-square to Uranus and Aries. He's into everything. He's an Aquarian cat. Okay, now let's go on to the big mama. I'm so sick of it. I've written so much for so many years about Pluto. Let me explain something to you first. In the old days, we could only see with the naked eye out to Saturn. So we had to find rulerships for all these signs, and we didn't know Uranus till the 18th century. We didn't know Neptune till the 17th century. Neptune in the, let's see, is that right? Neptune's the 19th century. Uranus was 18th century. Uranus brought us the Industrial Revolution. Neptune brought us the Spiritual Revolution. Pluto, 1930, brought us Hitler and atomic weapons in Pluto and Twilight Zone. So you can see that once they came along, we assigned Aquarius to be ruled by Uranus. We assigned Neptune the ruler of Pisces. We assigned Pluto the ruler of Scorpio. Not because we had to, because they match. But in the old days, Mercury had to rule two signs. It was ruler of Gemini and Virgo. And today, Mercury is definitely the ruler of Gemini and a co-ruler of Virgo. There's some confusion about this. This is hotly debated, which we'll get into later. Venus is another one. Venus was the ruler of Taurus and the co-ruler of Libra. Now we think Eris is the ruler of Libra and Chiron's the ruler of Virgo. There's things that they have to be debated for decades before we decide. We don't do things overnight, astrologers. Mars was the ruler of Aries as it is now. It was a co-ruler of Scorpio. Okay, until we found Pluto. Jupiter was the ruler of Sag, co-ruler of Pisces, till we found Neptune. So that's why it's the way it is. Okay? So these co-rulerships, they definitely work. And there's still some mysteries as to these rulerships, so this is for a little more advanced class. If you're wondering about this class, I don't know how I'm going to do it because I have a class I've been teaching since 2006, 14 years. So this is a beginning class, and I'm going to go about 10, 12 weeks or so to where I get you to a point where I think you can handle what you're doing in terms of going forward to another teacher, towards doing your own charts, but at least you'll have a good, strong foundation, I believe. I just don't have it in me anymore. It's just too much stuff. I'm trying to write a book too, also. Pluto. Pluto was found in 1930 by Percival Lowell, thus the symbol PL. And what happened with the Nazis? The planets are discovered when we are ready to adopt their energy psychically. Nobody was ready for Uranus till the 18th century. And then we started thinking about industrialism. Nobody was ready for Neptune till it was discovered. And we started to think about spirituality. So even though the planet's there going around and around, there's, in one way of speaking, the planet never existed till somebody saw it, which is exactly what the uncertainty principle is about. And Schrodinger's cat. That's what it's all about. It's not there till you see it. Well, what I've learned is in some people's charts that are born 1500 and so, Chiron really didn't exist, but you look in their chart, my God, its energies are there. You look at other people's chart and it wasn't. So the collective's kind of funny. It's kind of like we don't know that those planets don't exist until we've discovered them in some collective cases. This is hard to talk about, very hard. Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, 1930, the atomic weapons. Now we're starting to see the scariness of us possibly destroying ourselves. This coming spring, Mars is going to be at 23 Capricorn, Pluto 23 Capricorn, Saturn 23 Capricorn, Eris 23 Aries. 4 planets. Mars, Pluto, Saturn, and Eris, all squaring each other on the first day of spring. All I'm saying is tighten your belt, get yourself together, and watch stuff blow up all around you. Now, Pluto doesn't come into your life just to blow things up. Pluto is the planet that's inspecting you from inside yourself as to whether you got any courage. Balls. And think of balls. I'm reading the life story of Neil Young. This guy is nuts. This guy is a powerhouse. He has done everything in the world. And he's got Pluto, he's got Uranus coming to his moon in a couple of years. So we can expect a really big change in his life. Pluto is the force that says, Mark, you can't keep going down the basement telling me how bad it is and then coming back upstairs and shutting the door. Someday you're going to go down and the whole damn thing's crumbling, USA. The damn thing's crumbling. You notice your roads are crumbling, your bridges are crumbling? Well, there's lots of reasons for that. But it's Pluto. Pluto's in Capricorn. Since 2008 to 2023. And it works in Capricornian things at this time, which are our institutions, like the Senate, like the deputy, like the FBI, like the colleges, like the church, all these institutions that are falling apart. Pluto comes in and says, all right, stop the press, DOJ. Stop the presses. I want to come in and examine, have you been using your energy or abusing it? That's what's happening to America. It ain't the left. A lot of it is the right. We're falling apart because we have not done what we should have done. That's simple. I don't need to tell you what we should have done. We should have shared our resources with South America, with Africa, with everybody. Shared it instead of trying to dominate and use everybody. Pluto will not put up with you abusing power. It was right on us, smack dab in the middle of Trump's chart when he was impeached. What was it all about? Abuse of power. It's still going on. Why? Because in 1776, Pluto was here, 26 Capricorn, on the 4th of July. 256 years later, Pluto is right here, right that far apart. It's got 2-3 more years till Pluto comes back to that same spot, the Pluto return in 2023. And what's it doing is it's very strong, it's approaching, very powerful for years. It's testing us to, look, we've seen all the corruption and the uselessness of the Senate and of other government. What are we doing about it? What are we doing? Are we waiting for someone else to do it? Because there is nobody else. Pluto is all about finding your own strength. And if you don't, think about the people around you that are going down versus the one that are going up. The people around you that are going down because of Pluto. And the reason they're going down is because they're not summoning and accepting their own power. Think about that. It means a whole lot. Pluto's trying to say, I got power, I can handle this. Shh, you're too damn turbulent, back down. Now, I told you a long time ago the 4 stages of Pluto. The first stage hit us in 2008. Oh, something's going on, we better go fix it. Nah, that's your imagination, just ignore it, just stuff it down. Okay, this is the country trying to tell us we're going down the drain. There's symbols. The icebergs are melting. All this stuff. Oh, you're just talking and you're just trying to scare people. Stage 2 came. Oh, now the shit's really breaking. Now we know we got to deal with it. We don't have any idea how to deal with it. And the pus is just pouring out. That's what's been going on the last 12 years. Stage 3. Nothing is written in stone here. You might get to stage 3, you might not. Stage 3 is you start to see a little bit of light in the distance. But stage 2 is just nothing but doom and gloom and dirt and noise and worry. Stage 3 is much of the same, but you're starting to see a little air clear because you've been cleaning up, much like early Pittsburgh and late Pittsburgh. So in stage 3, you're starting to see the benefit of all the work that you've been doing by cleaning up your junk. Almost all people going through Pluto transits in my book start by cleaning out their basement. Almost all of them. I'm talking literally. Cleaning out every inch of their basement. It's symbolic that I don't want to live with this dirt anymore inside of me. I don't want to live with this junk. I want it out. I want to purify. It's a very scorpionic thing to do, to be pure. To be pure and to be powerful. Can we keep it? No, everything's got to go. Everything's got to go. So what we're seeing now is a continual destruction because Pluto has completely eaten up the GOP. There's no GOP left. And that's because of their Neptune return a year ago. There's nobody left. They just pinned themselves to his coattails and he's taking them down with him. No courage, except for one guy spoke out. I guess you could call it courage. I don't want to get into that. So Pluto, what it will do, if you are screwing up, here's what I mean. If you're screwing up and you're trying to get somebody to take responsibility for you, especially emotionally, Pluto will detach you from your support systems. There's no more money. Your friends have gone away. The car doesn't work. I lost this magazine, whatever it is, you'll just start losing your support systems because you're cowering and you're pushing down your own power. If Pluto comes up and you own it, and you say it's awful hard and it's scary and I'm scared to death, and what am I going to do with these kids? I don't know, but Pluto will help you. I wrote an article once, I still have it. Pluto will help you if you try. So if you try to get up off of the ground after you fell, and you try and you knock on doors, I hit the basement in 1974. Everything happened to me. I just crashed bottom, but I got up and I sought help, and I sought people to talk to and study with, and I just people came out of everywhere to help me. It's that simple. It's that simple. But if you run and you hide and you suppress, you're going to just decay. You're going to decay because Pluto's ultimate goal, because no one else will do it. Pluto rules garbage, man. No one else will do it. So Pluto's got to do it. If you're not evolving, we're going to get rid of you. And when Picasso, the Scorpio, went from his yellow period to his blue period, he didn't just shut the door on the yellow room and open up Plumbers 2, yes, and open up his blue period. He went and destroyed everything from his yellow period, burned it. That's a Scorpionic way, because that yellow room represented a weakness to him. See? This is why Van Gogh, and this is why Picasso, and so many, Wagner, so many of our really intense musicians and composers were Scorpionic, so powerful. I mean, Beethoven was Sag, but he had a lot of Scorpio in his chart. And I keep telling you that the rest of your chart holds a lot of surprises for you. It's not just your sun sign. So when Phoenix rising from the ashes is exactly right, baby. Yes. I've seen people hit the bottom and there's nothing but an ember left. And they grab it and their soul grabs it. And who knows what happens at that level. And everybody comes to help. And the people around them that were poisoned get cast off, and everything gets better and gets better and better. And that's when Mr. or Mrs. Right comes to you. Not when the planets are right. They come to you when you've dumped your junk. And it takes balls to dump your junk. It's not easy. So that's what's happening to cushy old crybaby America. That's what's happening. Huh, Mark? How many decades have we been preached to about the icebergs and the water and all the institutions going down there? Nobody listens because we're very Cancerian and we got our thumb in our mouth and we just want the TV to keep smiling at us, and my show is on and the commercials are on and everybody's smiling at me. It's all going to be okay. Well, it ain't. I don't know about you guys. I'm speaking out. I don't know why. Got a big mouth, is that it? It's because I see the planets. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is why this is such a Plutonian time. And what's so scary about this time is Pluto is going to return in 2023 and test us. Meanwhile, Eris keeps squaring us. Saturn is sitting with Pluto. Mars is coming over it in March. So that's going to be nuclear. It doesn't mean there'll be bombs, but you saw how close we came last time. Nuclear stuff's going to be on the table again, and I think Mr. You-Know-Who's going to want to push a button. That's what I really think is going to happen. But it doesn't matter because I may be wrong, and hopefully there's people that break his finger. Boy, I'd like to see that. Trump is not the trouble. We are the trouble. Too many of us are like him. which is why so many of us voted for him. Trump is the antithesis of Eris. Eris is here, and Eris cannot stand injustice, and Eris wants to clean up the swamp, and it doesn't care what the rules are. It will break all the rules, and it's much more powerful than Pluto. And the negative side is what you're seeing with the Trump cult. Blow up their own nose to spite their face. Okay, so Pluto can have a wonderful side to it. Also, if you get with it, it makes you stronger, and it makes you, I'm not taking your stuff anymore. You're not playing 50-50 with me. Get out of here. That's one of the big things you notice when Pluto is on people. You start getting rid of your half-ass friends, the ones that are just using you. That's what happens. So on all these planets, you deal well with Saturn, your life gets more integrated. You deal well with Uranus, your life becomes more independent. You get more elbow room. You're more you. You're less inundated. You're able to do your thing. You deal well with Neptune, you start to develop a spiritual life and a sense of a glow and a sense of presence around you. And I don't have to explain it to you. I'm not going to explain it. You know what I'm talking about. And when Pluto is around you and you get with it, then you get to stage 4 of Pluto. And stage 4 is you're up on top of that stallion and you're riding. And it doesn't matter if anybody's riding near you or what, because you're a powerhouse. Go mess with Charles Bronson. That's my new thing with Pluto. Go mess with Charles Bronson. Go up and slap him. Go slap Neil Young. They'll just stare a hole right through you. They don't need to touch you. So that's how the outer planets work. Pluto, 256 years. Let's do a little review. You'll know when Pluto's on. You'll go years and years without Pluto touching anything, and then all of a sudden, you'll have this great big heavy thing above you. What the hell is going on? That's Pluto. That's when you call Rick. You don't call him afterward once you're squashed. You call him before the crisis, as it's forming. Is it as sudden as Uranus? No. Nothing is sudden as Uranus. Even Mars hits a degree away. Uranus hits exactly. And maybe before, maybe after. But Uranus, you will be in the middle of a Uranian clown show, Wild West rodeo, when Uranus is on you. Let's go back. And I want you to feel free during this review. You got 13 minutes. I want you to feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Let me give you a quick review first. Next week, we're going to see an entire chart. Oh, man, you want to be confused? Save it for next week. You'll get there. My identity, my emotions, my family, my love, my family, my mind, my interesting topics. All Geminis use the word interesting in every other sentence. All Geminis use the word interesting in every other sentence. Venus, to invite people over for a nice social. Nice and pleasant. Give a nice place to stay. Look at your beautiful surroundings. Mars, let's go hike this mountain. Man, let's go. Where's my motorcycle? Jupiter, I want to go to France for the summer, Mom. Exchange student, okay. Saturn, I got a job at the bank. I'm starting to settle down. I got a savings account. These are all energies that are necessary. They need to be blended. What's confusing, in most astrology, you're getting 2 or 3 at once. That's why it gets confusing. See, right now, you're getting Pluto on you, you're getting Eris on you, you're getting Mars on you in a couple of days, you got Saturn on you. So like 4 planets at once, you don't know which one is talking, and that's why, see, when you're an astrologer, you're going to be able to feel these planets when they're on you. You will feel them. You will feel them in other people. You will feel them coming. And that's why I couldn't write for about 5 years, because I was doing so much Pluto work And I just couldn't figure it out. Nothing was working. And I didn't know Eris was really here to stay. And Eris came to us about 2006, right when Pluto was demoted by the astronomers. And Eris is a mama. She is a female. She's a hellraiser. And once I put Eris in the charts, I don't want to put another body in the charts. It's busy enough, and there it was, and there it is. It's in your natal chart. It's transiting. It's in your composite charts with other people. She is a mama. She's at 23 degrees of Aries right now. 23 Aries. The other ones are 23 Capricorn. Mars, Saturn, Pluto. All at a right angle to each other. That's why things are so dangerous now. Now, what I was saying to you about danger is everybody wants me to give them a pretty bedtime story. It's going to be okay because Jupiter's going to come to town. It's going to all be all right. I can't say that. The reason I can't say is the patient is very sick. And what you do with a patient who's going through 4 different cancer operations every day, you don't go banging loud cymbals in their room in the hospital. And what we need now, and we're starting to see it, the higher side of us is starting to come out. And what we need is a miracle. We need a new leader. We need an intervention by UFO, intervention by Jesus. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. We need shows like this where we're talking to each other. But anyhow, let's go back and finish our talk here. So Jupiter expands you, Saturn solidifies you, Uranus gets involved when things are too stale and they need to be renewed. And when you're plugged into Uranus, you're plugged into Uranus, period. It's plugged into you, and you're not going to suppress it. I say that very loudly because that's what people do. And when you suppress Uranus, you get strokes, you get aneurysms. You don't want to do this. You're much better off getting yourself in a hot rod, going out, blowing off steam. Really, getting it out. Neptune, very quiet, very subtle, very weird, spooky, hard to talk about, and it's hard to live with because it's just not really interested in your ego. It's interested in your spiritual connection to God. And Neptune's very powerful in the natal charts of people who are very psychic, who are mediums, who are preachers. Neptune is always there because they know that this unboundedness that is calling them is the absolute. It is the God force. It's not manifest. It's unmanifest. Saturn is manifest. Neptune is not manifest. Neptune has all the potential. Uranus has all the quantum. It gets heavy out here in the big energies. That's where I spend all my time. And Pluto is the energy. When something's been around too long, it needs to decay and be rebuilt. Rise from the ashes. Now, I'm sure all of you perked your ears up during certain planets. You could say, oh, yeah, I remember that. Ooh. So all I'm doing is starting to teach you a way of reframing your life. Okay? And I'll be showing you a natal chart. For instance, I will start showing you in the outer planets. The outer planets are really a big deal in your chart when they start combining with other natal planets. Opposite Mercury, square to Jupiter. Okay, Pluto being in Leo is not such a big deal because the whole generation had it in there for 30 years. See? But when Pluto was next to Uranus in 1965, look what the 60s brought us. From 60 to 71. Pluto and Uranus, that tremendous explosion radical revolution. I went back in my computer today and I asked the computer, when was Pluto and Uranus together before this? It was in 1865. The book that covers all this, it took 30 years to write, brilliant Bible of astrology, is called Cosmos and Psyche. Cosmos, Cosmos and Psyche. Psyche. Psyche, written by the brilliant Richard Tarnas. Tarnas. I want to make sure I didn't ignore one of my graphics for tonight. Hold on for a second. Oh yeah, this one, this one is the locality to get. The bottom line here is how you get a copy of the planet list, the planet grid. Go to my website, all lowercase, lower class too. starself.com/class/planets.jpg. If you go there, you will get that planet grid. And you can print that out for yourself. And better yet, get it printed out and then go make your own with a ruler. That's how you learn. You work at this stuff. That's how you learn with symbols. You work at it. Okay? Okay. Very good. So, when Pluto and Uranus were together in 1865, you saw what happened. And when Pluto and Uranus, they usually bring in what they rule. They bring in a Scorpio person or an Aquarian person. Lincoln was the Aquarian. Now, Pluto and Uranus are together. Who's the Scorpio? Russia. That's who. Who's trying to destroy us? Russia. Don't kid yourself. I'm not. If you want shooting straight from the hip, we're here. If you want bubble gum, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't mean they're going to succeed. It doesn't mean we're going to lose, but that's what's going on, and we need to get hip to it. We have all these descriptions of what they're doing to our voting system, and a whole lot of people don't even care. Kind of weird. Okay, let's take a couple minutes if you want to ask about planets. I have a question, Peggy. Let me get you unmuted. Thank you, Peggy. Go ahead.
All right. At this point, my natal chart, I'm going to tell you a few planets. Uranus is in Cancer at 24.
Uranus is not in Cancer. It's in Capricorn.
Not in my natal chart. In my natal chart.
Well, you got Uranus opposite Uranus.
Yes. Okay. And then
are you 42?
Huh?
Are you 42?
No, I'm much older. I have Pluto conjunct Mars at 23.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're 63. Uranus square Uranus. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have Jupiter at 23 Gemini, Pluto conjunct Mars at 23 Leo, Saturn conjunct Neptune at 24 Libra. So I have all these things in 24.
Okay, well, I don't have the time to go into your chart per se, but I want to tell you this, and we will try to do so in later charts. This is the advantage of coming to the class live, is I will try to use your charts as examples and teaching tools. With all your planets at 23 and 24, it doesn't even matter. Okay. Don't even get lost in it. You got so much going on with 23 and 24, whether it's sextile or quincunx or in conjunct or square or whatever. Now, what you do is, who's there? Pluto, Saturn is there. Mars is coming. When Mars gets there around March 20, March 19, March 20, March 21, you had better be acting on your problems. You had better be acting from this Sunday. Sunday, Mars goes into Capricorn, and it's going to take all that time to get to 23 degrees till March 20th. And when it gets there, it's going to try to instigate something. What's the saying? Where's the beef? Where's the beef? What are you doing? Now, I'm not worried about you because you're a Virgo and you're proactive and you're working at it. Okay? But anytime Mars is around, it's always a little dangerous. You want to keep your eye on it. The odds are very good that you'll get through it fine. But what's it trying to do? Forget about Mars. What's trying to happen is the big stuff. Eris is squaring your planets. Pluto, Saturn. What's happening to all of us? 7 billion of us. Your Eris is squaring Saturn, Pluto. What does this mean? Whether you're in Egypt, whether you're in Wales, it's time to devise new structures that will work. That's not just to save the planet. That's Saturn. It's because of Eris. Eris will not put up with something that's unfair.
Okay.
It will throw you out the window, Eris. It's very powerful. So what the planets are saying now, if you don't get it together, we're just going to throw you off the planet.
Okay.
Now, in your case, being a Virgo, Virgos always want to know, what can I do? They always end readings with what specifically. Well, I can't give you a specific. You have to get specific from the goddess. But you keep doing what you're doing, fixing things, purifying things, learning things. One of the biggest things I can tell you, being a Virgo woman, is allow yourself freedom. You need to get that Uranus working in you, even though it's not a 24. Get the Uranus working in you. Allow yourself freedom without thinking of yourself as being lazy. Okay? That's the biggest thing you can do, because you've already got the heart to help people, to fix people. You've already got the purity. But what Virgos don't have is they don't have self-permission to go be themselves.
Okay.
That's the number one thing you can do, in my opinion. Who's next? Somebody have a question? We got a smile on Erica's face. I can see a question brewing in Erica's face. States away. States away.
I always have lots of questions.
Good. Wonderful. Let's get up close, dear.
Maybe it's a little weird question, but it's a question. Why do you think the planets are stronger the further away they are from the Earth?
Well, it has nothing to do with distance. That's a really good question. I've never considered it much, other than the fact that that's who they are. And the mythology behind their names is that's who they are. One reason that one might surmise is they stay at a degree longer. Mercury's just flying through. I mean, what kind of effect is somebody going to have in your house when they come in one door and out the other door? Versus somebody comes in, sits on your couch for 15 years. You see?
Yeah.
And these planets at these degrees, this is the show we did with Linda Hill, these degrees have meaning, heavy duty, archetypal meaning. That could be one reason. And we got many planets out beyond Eris. Eris takes 540 years. We got Sedna, we got all these other planets. That's why Pluto was minimized, because we found a belt called the Kuiper belt. We found a belt it's like asteroids with 80 other planets. So in 2006, we had to either add 80 new planets or get rid of 2. So we got rid of we did, the astronomers.
What's the other one?
The astronomers got rid of Ceres as an asteroid, the major asteroid, and Pluto. So think about this. 18th century, we discover one planet, Uranus. 19th century, discover one planet, Neptune, spirituality. 20th century, discover 2 planets. 1930, Pluto, Scorpio, Chiron, Virgo. 1977, when all these alternate healing stuff started. 21st century, 80 new planets. 80. What this means is, in the 18th century, the mind was only ready to invite one new energy psychically. 20th century, we were only ready 1930, 1977 to absorb two new energies. Now we get 80, which means that mentally and psychically, a lot of us have become much, much, much more powerful mentally and capable of these energies. So that's all I want to say. I'm going to stop for now.
Thank
You have a very, very good question. I don't really know what the exact answer is, other than that's how they are. But I do want to warn you that most of what you hear about astrology is the inner stuff. The sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, stuff that flies by that may affect your mood by an inch for 2 hours. Now, the big planets are on you for years. They're heavy duty planets. So you're going to now see next week, you're going to start seeing some charts. I don't know who yet. And I'll show you a chart because it's going to start putting the planets in houses. You're going to see how the chart rotates. In the old days, I didn't do this. I made people go 8 weeks till they saw a chart and wondered why my class kept dwindling. Now, on the 5th week, I get into charts because people want to see their charts. They want to see their charts. And when you can see your planet is opposite this planet and it's in this house, it takes on a whole different meaning. But you see, you can't get there till you have a basic understanding of the signs and the planets. So next week, you're going to see all 10 planets in somebody's chart in 10 different signs and in 10 different houses. And they'll be opposite each other. They'll be next to each other. And when they're next to each other, they operate totally different than if they're 1/3 of the way around or exactly opposite. They have different ways of operating. And that's what's in this book. Learn Astrology by Marion March and Joan McEvers. Marion March and Joan McEvers. The only way to learn astrology, volume 1. It's from the 60s, but it covers the basics really well. So I will start to mix it up and start to show you. And next week is the week that you got to make sure you don't leave. Okay? Because you're going to start getting so much and you're going to start wondering, how in the hell am I going to do this? And don't worry about it. Just learn the basics of the signs, the basics of the planets, and you're going to start to see. And then what we're going to do is chart after chart after chart after chart. This is why this guy's so weird. This is why this woman's so wonderful. This is why this company is so scary. You're going to see it right there. Okay? I'm tired. Very good. Thank you. I see you next week, week 5, where we'll look at our chart, and peace be to everybody. Bravo, Rick. Bravo, Ray. Thank you all. Good night. Thank you, YouTubers.